Portuguese name that works to shop.
Let's start with the pledge, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Unfinished business or correspondence? You have none, you continue to.
I do. Next street.
All right, we are looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting dated June 14th, 2022 as presented. Second. Yeah. Call for a vote, please.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mr. Pisarcik?
Yes. We're looking for a motion to approve invoices in the amount of $1,588,528.22 for the period June 10th through June 24th, 2022.
Second.
Yep. Call for a vote on that, please, Karen.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mr. Pisarcik?
Yes. We're looking for a motion that the actual gross payroll in the amount of $350,858.56 be approved for payment for the period June 5th through June 18th, 2022.
So moved.
Second. Call for a vote, please.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mr. Pisarcik?
We're looking for a motion to accept the results of the May 17th, 2022 general primary recount as presented by the Jefferson County Board of Elections and to certify the results of said primary.
Second.
Call for a vote on that, please.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mr. Pisarcik?
Looking for a motion to exonerate the county's portion of the taxes for parcel number 35-002-0311 located at 21 East Main Street in Sykesville that were assessed but not paid as the building was acquired by the borough and the building has been vacant since the acquisition.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Call for a vote on that, please.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mr. Pisarcik?
In the way of announcements, all county offices will be closed on Monday, July 4th, 2022, in observance of the holiday. Commissioners meeting July 12th at 10:30 a.m. here at Jefferson Place. At this time, Steve.
Yes, sir. I'm here to talk to the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson about the implementation of the 988 mental health crisis hotline. And if the commissioners approve, I'll distribute some handouts and some contact information.
Yeah.
Okay. This might take me a few moments, and I apologize. You're welcome. You're welcome. And there's a copy for you there.
Thank you.
Do you want my extra copies, Karen?
I can do that and I can set them out if you'd like.
I'm glad I had my friend Chris here from 911 who's going to keep me straight and narrow. Teacher at the moment.
Do you have a bunch more to pass on?
No, this is my last one.
Okay.
I just want to give some folks that are a little bit newer faces to me my business card, just in case they have any follow-up questions or comments.
Yeah.
And then I'm good to go. These have been bumbling around in this bag for the better part of a couple of years. So they're probably dinged and coffee stained and some other things. And I forgot to give myself a copy of each. And that happens. So I'm just gonna, so I can see everybody, I'm just gonna move up here a little bit.
Sure.
All right, 988. Okay, so what do you have? This is a one-page handout about 988 that was recently disseminated by the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. But it's basically a reproduction of the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, because this is a nationwide process to have 988 be a national 3-digit number. This is the primary coverage map of the call centers, or I'm sorry, did I say national? I meant Commonwealth-wide map of coverage for 988 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the PowerPoint that you have is Thomas Jefferson University was tapped by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to be the lead on the implementation of 988 throughout the Commonwealth. So there's a robust amount of information in here. And I mean, you know, I don't want to bore people, but I'm happy to talk with folks about where we were, where we're at, and where we're headed. And a lot of the answers are in here. And so I think while this was developed in it looks like January 28th of 2022, by this point in time, the Commonwealth believes it has its infrastructure in place for the next phases of 988. Okay, so that's what you have. And I live in Brockway. I drove here from Brockway today, but every once in a while I'm going to sound like I came from Harrisburg. I can assure you I did not drive here from Harrisburg today. So what is 988? 988 is fundamentally the 3-digit, easy to remember number to replace the 10-digit National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And I couldn't tell you what the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is. It doesn't impact me very often here in Jefferson and Clearfield. I have Clearfield County too. I know there's folks here that I'm the Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Administrator for Jefferson and Clearfield counties. And hopefully, we used to be, when you look at my business card, we used to be the Clearfield Jefferson MHMR program, but about 15, 17 years ago, there was a movement to, because of the stigma associated with the terminology of mental retardation, we changed our name to Community Connections, but we're the historic MHMR office. Okay. Is that enough housekeeping, or is there anything else I'm missing before I start to roll?
I think those, Steve.
Okay. So 988 is an easy to remember 3-digit number to replace a 10-digit number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And there's a lot of deliverables on here from the federal government, but where we're at and where we are, if you flip through the PowerPoint, you can see that there was a time when a lot of the I'm trying to remember what page it's on. I don't usually do public hearings all that often. So I think you can see the growth on page 9, the second to bottom, or the second last slide. You can see the increase of the new volume of calls. And this was a initiative by SAMHSA. Let me think what that acronym means. SAMHSA is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, SAMHSA. It's under the umbrella of the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. And what they wanted was that 10-digit number to be received by somebody from the state where the call came from. And so this started, this is probably 2017, maybe 2016. This started unrolling that to where instead of somebody calling from Pennsylvania and their call being answered by somebody from Montana, they wanted that call to be answered by somebody in Pennsylvania. And through the PowerPoint, you can see the evolution of Pennsylvania through 2017 and through 2019 and through 2021, that our call volume has gone up. Our received call volume has gone up. When somebody calls the 10-digit number, it gets answered by a call center in Pennsylvania. I think in 2017, we had 5 call centers, and now we're up to 13. And that's described here with the 13 call centers. And so that there was a more local approach to the to those folks receiving the calls. And so SAMHSA put out a grant, Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration, put out a federal grant to the state saying, if you come along with us and if you partner with us, we'll help you set up your infrastructure, which is this. And that more calls coming out of Pennsylvania will be answered by people from Pennsylvania. That's the genesis of 988. Anything I can answer? Any
So
questions?
this is going into effect next month, correct?
Yeah. Well, yes, Commissioner. But 988 is already live. I don't believe the text in chat is a weird word for me. Which I'm trying to pronounce cellular. I can't never pronounce that word. The text in chat, I don't believe are active until July 16th or July 17th. But if somebody calls 988, it will ring. It will ring fundamentally to the Butler call center. For somebody from Jefferson County, it will ring to the Butler call center. It is live, but I kind of describe it as opening up a restaurant. I kind of want a slow opening, even though I know that it's out there. And I see things on social media. I'm trying to stay off social media. But I see things on social media. I know 988 is out there. I know it's being promoted and from very good intentions. But I would prefer kind of a slow rollout of 988. That was the original plan, is that 988, we would adhere to all the federal requirements in the Commonwealth by, I can't remember if it's the 16th or 17th. And then we would have kind of the better part of a year to have that soft opening. And along the way, we still have the Jefferson Clearfield mobile crisis hotline. We still have 911. And that social safety network is still intact. But if, 988 is live according to the federal requirements on July 16th or July 17th of next month. And the text and chat will be live, as of my understanding, on June 28th.
There's a couple of things here I think are interesting, Steve.
Yes.
So looking at the slide, which you referred earlier on page 9.
Okay.
And so they're approximating, or they're saying there were 4 million contacts last year, and they're anticipating the administration of this, they're anticipating that to more than double.
Yes, sir.
And on the page before that, the bottom slide says in the old number, the 800 number, in 2020, 76,000 calls were fielded. I have a question for you. It's on page 3, the bottom slide, and it walks you through, some of the interaction between different agencies.
Yep.
And it could be fortunate, or in your case, Chris, unfortunate, that you're here today. Could you speak to how 911 and this system interface? Specifically, I'm asking if this, if the 988 call center receives a call and the person fielding that call understands there could be a broader issue that may involve emergency services, how does that take place? And the opposite, if 911 receives a call while they're doing their dispatching duties or performing their dispatching duties and they may see an appropriate 988 role, how does that coordination take place?
Let me take them a little bit in order, Commissioner.
Yeah.
The increased volume is because we increased our call centers.
Okay.
So the number you see at the bottom of page 9, that increase is because we went from 4 or 5 call centers in 2017 to the 13 call centers in 2021. Instead of those calls going to Montana or New Mexico or Vermont, they are now being responded by Lifeline here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
That answers, I hope that provides some light on that answer.
It's just an observation on my
Yeah.
part that I think it's interesting that they're anticipating such a jump.
Agreed.
Hopefully not. I think we're all hoping for a
It's the old
lower
Field,
metric there, but
as the old Field of Dreams story goes, if you build it, they will come. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That is a very good thing. I'm a big proponent of 988. I think 988 is great that people have a convenient way, but it will increase volume because at some point we need to a little bit talk about funding. But then to your, I think to your last point, how will 988 and 911 interact? So if you look at the slide above that, Commissioner, you'll see on the second bullet under 988, trained crisis counselors answer contact, average call time 20 minutes. I know that 911 does an outstanding and fabulous job. And 911 might hang on to somebody as they're providing life support and in anticipation of the ambulance coming. I believe 988 is more of an intervention than a dispatch.
right.
And that 988 does have all the local, like this person isn't calling for an intervention, they're calling for dispatch. They will immediately flip that to 911.
Intervention that is complemented with a need for dispatch.
Right.
So what does that look like in application?
So we're fortunate that our call center, both for our local crisis number and for 988 is the Butler call center. And so whether it came in organically through the Jefferson Clearfield mobile crisis hotline, or if it came in through 988, or if it came in through the 10-digit suicide prevention hotline, that call center, if they feel that somebody's at immediate danger and needs the deployment of law enforcement, ambulance, or fire, that they would immediately flip that to a 911 call and dispatch. That's my understanding of June 28th.
Okay.
They have all of that. They have all of the local contact information to be able to pull that off.
Okay.
But let me say this is why I wanted the soft opening.
Right.
You know,
Find the seams.
Yes.
And fix them as you go. Certainly understand that. So let me flip the question. 911 receives the call and they see this as an intervention need, not a dispatching need.
If just, with the information presented and what was discussed last week by Steve and myself and the pieces before that, to 911, again, it'll be a valuable resource potentially because of that time factor. If it's not an immediate need for law enforcement, EMS, or an emergency service, we can leverage that to take it to the next step of help for that person. Right now, if we take a call like that, we will get crisis involved or whatever services are needed. If law enforcement or EMS are needed, our dispatchers will stay on the line with that person and communicate with them and keep them communicating until that help and appropriate services with them. Again, something like this, whenever we have, sometimes 2 on a midnight or 3 people working, a call for a medical emergency that requires first aid intervention verbally from the dispatcher, that this will be tremendous to free up that line and free up that person. And it would be as simple as just connecting our caller to that service. I guess moving forward, I like to keep things, I like the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid.
Big broadband too.
That as well. For our perspective of 911, not having 3 or 4 different ways of handling a person like that, to take one path and move that person forward if they don't need that emergency service at that point, we can go straight over to that. That person at 988 can evaluate what this person may benefit from the most, but then also still have that lifeline back to us if necessary. Moving forward with any person that requires services is I'll always recommend from our perspective with 911 is if you're not sure, don't sit there and debate it with yourself or with a family member, just call 911 because we may be just that stepping point for that person, but we're going to get them in the right direction. So rather than, I want somebody to sit there and debate if should I call, shouldn't I call, do I have an emergency? If it's something bothering you, then yes, you have an emergency personally. And then we can help sort that out in conjunction or, be a funnel through point if 988 or those services would be needed beyond ours.
I appreciate that you've already taken the step to open that communication and coordination piece.
Might be a little bit of a bumpy road, but as we figure this out, we will figure it out.
And I agree with, the wording of the soft rollout,
Yes.
allowing to keep it here and then just let it blossom from there and, just fix and let it grow and nurture itself. So,
Any system, especially a new one, has to evolve.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
I'll just draw one more point of attention because I'm sure it's something that will come up, and let me see if I can find it where I'm looking for it. Okay. Let's narrow it down. My pages are sticky. Okay, so I would just draw your attention to page 10, top slide. One of the bumps along the way is going to be the $26 million annually. The current proposal in the General Assembly of the Commonwealth that has no traction whatsoever at this moment in time is to add some type of surcharge fee onto existing landline and anything connected to, here comes my tough word, cellular devices. I have no idea what that number is. I don't know if it's 75 cents per line, $1.10 per line, what it is, but that seemingly doesn't have an appetite in Harrisburg right now. I'm glad the infrastructure is built, but the sustainability of it probably worries me more than anything because I don't believe there's an appetite right now in the General Assembly to do this. Doesn't mean it won't change. It's budget season. They're all huddling somewhere in their corridors right now to get the next budget out. But that'll be the next obstacle to overcome. And other than that, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. And I'm open for any other questions, comments, or I'll go back and listen quietly in the corner.
Okay, unfortunately, give me a second. I'm sorry. You've created another question in my mind.
Certainly.
So the 800 number is being retired, is that?
No, that 800 number will never retire.
Okay,
Somebody somewhere in the nation, not just Pennsylvania, has got a magnet on a refrigerator that's a 10-digit national
Okay.
suicide prevention hotline. That will never go away.
so that is going to continue to exist, and this is going to exist concurrently, providing the same type of service.
Exactly. It will be parallel with each other.
Simplifies it.
But for
So
my
you're
15,
down
but for my
988.
15-year-old kid, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No.
For my 15-year-old kid who's more apt to text and chat
Mhm.
and who has no idea I couldn't even tell you what the 10-digit national suicide prevention hotline is. But for him, as he, continues through older adolescence and early adulthood, he's always going to want to text or chat. And hopefully over the course of a time and a slow rollout, 988 becomes as ingrained in his mind, and I almost think of my 9-year-old in the 3rd grade, as I was when I was in the 3rd grade, when the St. Mary's police and fire and ambulance came and said, "Hey kids, what do you do in an emergency? Call 911." I'm hoping that same thing takes over for them. And then eventually, the 10-digit number would go away, but that's a generational shift.
Well, and that's, I'm certainly cognizant and sensitive to the probability. You can't just turn that off.
Sure.
Or the information is well ingrained into, all the systems that we have out there. But the last thing you said is really where I was going. If this is a superior system, we're gonna pay for, as taxpayers, we're gonna pay for both systems for a while. That over
Okay.
time, eventually, we're gonna retire the old system when the timing is appropriate. And it goes to the funding piece, then in my mind, then the funds that are funding what will become the legacy system, then, in theory, move toward the new system.
I agree with that 100%. It'll take time though.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand this is a transition process.
Yes. Yep, I agree 100% to Commissioner Horn.
And maybe to expand on that, Scott, a little bit, not 911 is currently experiencing that exact scenario with our next generation system. I mean, the number doesn't change and so forth, but the background and delivery service of 911, of course, is in the process and the advanced stages of moving forward, exactly as you're saying, where we're going from what we have for legacy delivery to the next gen platform, which, like I said, we're on the cusp of completing that here in our region. So it's definitely possible and will happen. Just anybody that would be listening to this in the public, for the 800 number and the 988 number, if me and somebody else in the same room needed services and one of us called 988, the other person calls the 800 number. If we did that simultaneously, does that take us to the same call center in the same room?
Takes you to Butler, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so either way, that those people will get the same location.
And to add to that, Chris, if they call the Jefferson Clearfield mobile crisis hotline,
Mhm.
it still takes you to Butler. So so every
Everything is
door
funneled
takes
to
you
that.
to the
Perfect.
Thank you.
There's nothing else, certainly.
You said this is a federal, there's federal funds going into this, this is like a federal.
It was a federal grant to build the infrastructure in a startup.
Do you know how many states outside of Pennsylvania have implemented 988?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I know that the pilot had 8 states that I believe started in 2018 or maybe 2017. 8 states started the pilot, and things take forever to move.
Mhm.
And then SAMHSA felt confident and comfortable, and the legislature or the Congress passed an act. The United States Congress passed an act in 2020, and I believe I believe all that information is here.
Okay.
In the PowerPoint to describe how the evolution occurred, but that act passed in 2020. And then Pennsylvania has spent the last 2 years using that grant to do the startup and the infrastructure.
So are there
Are they gonna add any more call centers, or the call centers that are on here is, the infrastructure's done being?
That you're holding in your hand is the completion of the call centers as we know of June 28th. And if you flip back a couple of slides through the Thomas Jefferson packet, you can see where we were at in 2017, and you can see the evolution.
Yeah.
But this is where currently the Department of Human Services feels that we have enough coverage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anything for public comments here. Let's go ahead and go with questions from the floor. We have any others?
I think I did actually. On number 7, the 21 East Main Street in Sykesville. You know what building that was?
The old bank,
What?
old bank there.
Ah. I figured. Just curious. I think that's
Are you guys gonna make any comment about you guys don't usually do the recounts, right? This was one of the areas that they just kind of asked for the
It was a
recounts to be done.
statewide readout
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Okay.
It hit,
for one race, yeah.
it hit the criteria, triggered an automatic.
Okay.
Okay, anything else anybody has? Jeff, Scott, Karen, anybody? Nothing? Then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Call for a vote, please.
Mr. Bullers.
Yes.
Mr. Nord.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton.
Thanks, everybody.